Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Find ways to win, especially for him at a point where all the attention's going on him. There's a lot of unknowns early for him, but I think as he keeps winning, as he keeps playing, the better he's going to be, especially his confidence that not only he has in himself, but the team has in him, especially Coach Dabo and that coaching staff. Just letting him loose, man. It's just fun to watch.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia. Hope you've had a great day. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sports Talk. We have a very busy show for you tonight. A lot of good things to come your way, including Dabo Swinney once the Tigers come off the practice field, which is happening right about to we've also got USC practice covered for you as well. So we'll hear from the Gamecocks tonight as they get ready for the Citadel. We will be welcomed a little bit later by Corey Miller, and no Will Merritt tonight. Will's on a trip the next couple of weeks, so he'll be gone. But replacing him, we have a very capable, knowledgeable football man to step in, Rick Sanford. And you might say, well, you got two Gamecocks together, which is true. But let me tell you, Rick is an equal opportunity hater when it comes to the Gamecocks and the Tigers. All right, so he won't play one over the other. He'll tell you exactly what he's thinking about, good, bad, or otherwise, regarding the Gamecocks and the Tigers.
He takes the bias for the New England Patriots.
True.
He's a very biased former Patriot and current Patriot fan.
He's saying he was born too soon. He'd rather be playing for this edition of the Patriots.
And he also saves his bias for himself. Dr. Rick will not let you forget what a great player he was at South Carolina and in high school at Northwestern High School, and somewhat in the NFL. Don't know if he would go down as a great player in the NFL, but a good player in the NFL.
If you make it to the NFL, anybody that plays in the NFL for any extended period of time, I'll put in a great football player category.
I still
Maybe
have
not a great NFL player. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but
I still have an NFL player card, a New England Patriots Rick Sanford card, like an old baseball card, football card that I keep somewhere. Don't remember where I put it. And we're joined in the studio by old friend, still hanging in there with us, Ron Morris, now busy in many, many different ways. And he is in studio with us tonight to share some of his sporting thoughts. How are you?
Doing well.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
What have you been doing since the last time we saw you?
Well, I finished a book that I today got some good news. I have a publisher, and hopefully the book No Bull, the real story of the Durham Bulls and their rise to iconic status, will be released, I hope, in May. And I've also become employed by the City of Columbia on a consultant basis. And in addition to that, I'm learning how to grill on the grill, and I've learned to bake cookies. I brought you some here tonight.
I see we're the guinea pigs, right?
So all the things that I couldn't do before, I'm now learning how to do, like bake cookies.
We'll test the cookies here momentarily and tell you what. We'll be back in a moment.
Even though what we do is wrong.
All right, we're back at Sports Talk here on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia, Main Street. Sports Talk is your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the beaches to the mountains, we like to say, Ron Morris. Good to have Ron in the studio with us. So the last time you were here was prior to football season. Boy, have things changed since then. Have you ever been around a crazier football season between the Gamecocks and the Tigers?
Wow. Yeah, I guess not. I'm kind of glad I'm not involved in the writing of it, because
You never
think
you never get that urge. We're like, oh, you have something, and you're like, I want to get it off my chest.
Yeah, we'll
well,
give you a chance now.
that's why I'm here today.
Okay.
What would you have written about Spurrier's decision to leave the team when he did?
Well, I think that's pretty simple. It's quite a statement on the character of the captain when he's the first one to jump off a sinking ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that would have been well received by many people, but I think it's true.
But what about the point that somebody would make where, let's say you're a pilot of an airplane and you're having a hard time seeing, and you're going, okay, there's another guy that you think can see better, and you say, okay, you fly the plane, and you get out of the cockpit.
Yeah, you could use that one. Yeah.
I mean, that's the other side.
Yeah,
because to
You could
me,
use that one.
Yeah.
to me, I get it. I mean, in that whole
Sure,
thing, you don't quit on your team, but I mean, he didn't have it. I mean, he was part of the problem, and I do say it's kind of his MO, and for better or for worse. And I get your point, but I don't think Sean Elliott and G.A. Mangus are probably disappointed that he did it that way.
No, I don't think anybody is.
Yeah, Ray Tanner across the board, they get that rip the Band-Aid off, and
Yeah.
now they're already maybe closing in on a coach right now instead of just everybody asking these questions. What's going to happen at the end of the season? Spurrier's got to quit, right?
Well, you didn't think that was going to open up the dam, though, did you? Because now we got coaches getting fired mid-season. One quit because of health reasons, and it seems now with all the big money in coaching, either coaches walk off early or they're asked to leave and bring in the next new thing.
Well, I don't think they walk off early. I think he's the only one that's done that. Most of them are classy enough to announce for the end of the season, or, you know, to basically go through the tough times and live with it and help the program along. I mean, I don't know that I'd be surprised if he's out recruiting and helping USC's cause in any way. I don't know that that's true, but I don't know that's not either.
Now, supposedly he's going to be taking this ambassador's role at South Carolina. Josh had a story this afternoon. Spurrier is going to become an ambassador, working with the president and with the athletic director, being paid $100,000 a year in that role to
They just can't stop paying Steve Spurrier money. Let's give this rich guy more of our money.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Right.
Here you go.
they feel like it's they're, you know,
Well, maybe they'll
they
get a
feel like
return on
he's
that.
worthy of it, I guess. I
Maybe.
mean, yeah, I will say this.
He's not a glad
I
hammer.
wouldn't begrudge him the money that they're paying him, because he made the university a ton of money over his 10 years. You would agree with that?
Golden
I
parachute.
would agree with that, but they also paid him handsomely
Sure.
to.
I think they got, but they
And they got a
invested
nice
in him
return.
and they got their return. Yeah.
But
Now they're paying him to do nothing.
they're paying him to do nothing.
Yeah.
I don't quite
And-
understand that, but
and-
that's for.
And $100,000. Now maybe they can have one gala night with Steve Spurrier and charge $10,000 a table, and they can get $250,000 raised that night, and that's what they're thinking. But anybody that's been around Steve Spurrier knows that he's not the guy that's going to go into a room and shake a lot of hands and ask for money. And he might go in there and tell a few jokes and slam on some rival coaches or brag about himself. But I mean, to me, at some point, South Carolina's going to have to cut the cord and say, thank you, Steve Spurrier. We're not going to pay you anymore.
Do you think the South Carolina shouldn't try and separate itself from Steve Spurrier and the Steve Spurrier era
No, I
in
don't
any
think
way,
so
should it?
either. No, heavens no. But there is a point where you have to say we're moving on, and let's hire a new coach. And you know, it's his day is gone.
Right.
He quit how many weeks ago?
Right before the Vanderbilt
Yeah,
game.
5 weeks.
It's been-
5 weeks ago.
we're
It
during
It
the
seems
week
like
6.
ancient history. I mean,
Yeah.
so much has happened this year. It's like
Yeah.
where that story. He really is almost an afterthought right now to this college football season with what Clemson's doing and the coaching search. And
And it takes away, I think, from the incredible job I think that Sean Elliott has done.
Mhm.
just from the standpoint of getting his team to perform at that level for consecutive weeks. I mean, I fully expected them one of these games in the last month and in the next 2 weeks to just quit.
Just tank.
Because, that's what their leader did.
Right.
So why wouldn't they do the same thing?
Down 17 points twice
to
back. Good teams and got back into the game with the chance to win it in the fourth quarter.
And that all goes to Sean Elliott and his preparation of that team and him getting basically injecting some life into that program.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Matulis intimated that they were playing for him. Mm-hmm. They were, in other words, playing for him to get that job permanent.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either. I think that's a nice short-term
it would have been a
solution.
It would have taken a finish of 3 wins, beat Clemson, get them to a bowl game to really put Sean in the conversation. I think Ray appreciates what he's done, but I want to pass along what we updated last night.
He'll get a job though. He's what he's done though is he's another school is going to look at what he did and say that guy's got something.
Last night on our website, we updated our who's hot, who's not USC coaching search page based on some information we got last night. And we're told Ray Tanner and Tom Herman have been communicating through the third party. The two are on the same page about what each one wants. We're also told the two will sit down together at the appropriate time to make sure it's a fit for both parties. Timeline-wise, if a formal announcement were to come, it would be made soon after Houston's final regular season game. If it's not in the AAC championship game, that's on December 5th. If they're in the title game, the announcement would come soon after that. That's what we were told last night, was what we picked up, and that's kind of what we're hanging our hats on now. You had somebody in mind for the job.
Yeah, I think now, understand, there's a premise to my thinking here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The premise is that as you all know, what is the goal of South Carolina football annually? It's to win an SEC championship, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So two of the greatest coaches in the history of college football have been unable to attain that goal. Mm-hmm. So it's time for South Carolina, in my eyes, to think different. They got to go outside the box. Mm-hmm. They need to hire Navy coach Ken Numatolo.
First of all,
and go to the option.
Nobody can say his name around here. Number one,
Numatolo.
You can't even get it right. You learned the guy's name in high school.
At Nation Ford.
Yeah.
He's a great coach.
Yeah, he's a heck of a coach
at Navy, and I mean that's out of the box, great. But I mean, go hire Mike Ayers if you want somebody to come in and run the triple option. Go hire Paul
Johnson.
No, but hire the best.
Go hire Mike Houston at the Citadel.
This guy is the best. He is 65-36. Not anywhere, folks.
Yeah.
At Navy. Mm-hmm. And if you want to compare that to something, tell me what Army's done in the last 8 years since he's been there. In the last 30 years.
Correct.
He's done this at Navy. He's been to 7 bowl games at Navy.
He's going to play Houston for the league championship in 2 weeks.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they win that game.
That's the perfect place to run the triple option, or Georgia Tech. I mean, you've got really smart military guys.
So you're saying South Carolina players are dumb?
I'm not. I'm just saying that you're recruiting you're recruiting a different caliber player at your typical SEC school than you are at the Naval Academy.
Absolutely.
And that's not a knock on. That's just the reality of it. That's like Princeton has a different caliber athlete on a lot of different levels.
That's my point.
So but I mean, to me, I don't know if you're going to be able to recruit enough guys to run that system to win on a high level consistently and win an SEC championship. Can you go to and win an SEC championship running the triple option?
You need fewer great players to run the triple option than you do to run the spread.
You really do.
But Ray's not going to go to the triple option.
No.
I'm saying
he's going to go.
Love that.
He's going to go young. He's going to go heavy recruiting. He's going to go 5 wide, throw the ball, exciting football, energy. I think he sensed a staleness.
He's going to coach a 3-run homer again.
I think so. I think he wants to hit the 3-run homer.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Or in this case, a 3-run Herman.
If you want to win an SEC championship, your route is quicker and better running the option than it is.
Well, I mean, you'd be the only one. Of the box. You'd be the only one in the SEC running it.
Absolutely.
Vanderbilt tried it for a while. It didn't work.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. We'll be right back.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Ron Morris in studio with us, and coming up shortly, Corey Miller, and joined tonight by Rick Sanford. Looking forward to having those two with us in the bottom of the hour. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney a little later. Also, we'll hear from the USC side of things after practice. And we've got the preseason high school basketball polls for you as well. Those came out today. A little Chad Holbrook, too, USC baseball coach, met with the media today to wrap up fall camp. So we'll let you hear a couple of minutes of what he had to say. Feels really, really good about this team and about what they can do, even though two of his best pitchers are going to miss the entire season because of arm injuries. But otherwise, he still feels good about things. Ronnie in North Augusta, let's jump to the phone lines and hear what's on everybody's mind tonight.
Hold on, before you start, Ronnie, somebody tweeted a picture to us today at Sports Talk SC, and they said it was you. They said this is Ronnie in North Augusta, and you were holding up a Clemson flag that was signed by Dabo Swinney to you.
Is that true, Ronnie?
Was that Photoshop?
Oh, of all places, they gave it to me in church.
Oh, hell. Well, no
where
wonder.
I couldn't say anything. That's pretty low down, isn't it?
I tell you what, they backed you up against the wall. I see this now. Okay. And let me see. Look at you. Yeah.
You're smiling, holding it up. You're all in.
Oh, yeah.
You are all in.
The way it's going for Carolina, ain't nothing they can do to hurt me no worse this year. Because if they don't do it, this is the year.
This is it.
But, I've been calling you for a lot of years, and I would imagine you'll never take another call from me again, but I won't ever get this chance again. I want to ask Ron Morris a couple questions.
Okay, he's right here.
You say you've learned a couple new things. I'd like to know if you've learned how to tell the truth, and I'd like to know if you've learned how not to pee in your britches like the little wimp you are every time Spurrier says boo.
All right, Ronnie, thank you very much. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I'll just say yes on both counts. How about that?
Normally Ronnie saves that kind of vitriol for me, so it's nice to have
or a Tiger fan.
Ron Morris in the studio. I get that a lot.
What a pleasant call.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Ronnie? Anything else, sir?
What else can you say?
I guess
that?
he's gone. Okay. Do you want to respond in any way?
No. Let's talk about Clemson football.
Well, let's take another call, and we'll talk about Clemson football. Preston in Rock Hill. Preston, how are you? Welcome to Sports Talk.
How's it going, fellas?
Good.
On this hump day Wednesday. I'm happy. I like that news you were talking about with by Herman. I know I don't want to. I mean, I know we got to just calm ourselves down, but it would be. I mean, I don't know if you guys understand. It was time. It's time for a complete overhaul. I appreciate what Sean Elliott has done the last few weeks, as far as getting the guys up and running. But what I saw Saturday against Florida, we got 3 redshirt seniors on the offensive line and a redshirt junior, and Florida manhandled the offensive line. I don't know what has gone on with the strength and conditioning. You guys may be able to elaborate, but it's something. When you got a kid like Jonathan Bullard, who's a stud, don't get me wrong, he's a stud, but he was pushing our guards into the backfield.
All right, we got to jump in. Thanks for the call. We'll talk about that coming up. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Bill Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, the Snake Man, Graham Pope, and Ron Morris, all together in our pretty little studio in downtown Columbia. Typically, it's the M&M boys at this stage of the week. One of our M's is gone. Will Merritt's on a trip for the next couple of weeks, but we have sufficiently replaced him with a former Gamecock star. We're calling this now the Defenders because these are two defensive players. Of course, the pastor of Payne, Corey Miller, he is with us, and we're joined by Dr. Rick Sanford, who back in the day used to break bones, and now today as a chiropractor, he just cracks bones. Dr. Rick, how are you?
Phil, you're just too much. I tell you, it's just amazing these intros you come up with. I don't know how you do it. I see you got one of my favorite guys, Ron Morris.
Say hello to Uncle Ron there, Rick.
Dr. Rick and I.
Ron.
Hey,
Ron, you don't deserve all that mess. You're doing fine. You're fine.
that's right. Dr. Rick and I go way back in our mutual hatred of just about everything in Columbia and Clemson, right?
All right, let's welcome in the pastor of Payne. Pastor, how are you, sir?
Man, this is what they really call a loaded show.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm doing great, though. How you guys doing?
We're great. Thank you for joining us, and let's get to the matters at hand. We'll start with you, Pastor. Let's talk about Clemson. Everybody in the country is talking about Clemson. Number one, again, 3 weeks in a row. They're fighting off all comers, taking care of business. Pretty, not pretty, no matter how you want to look at it. They're undefeated. And they're looking at a 12-0 regular season here. What do you think? Are they where they're supposed to be at the top of the heap?
Again, I feel about the top four right now. Don't really matter. I look at it in 2 weeks to see where everybody is. But nonetheless, a really good football team. I'm going to continue to say it. I don't think they're the best team in the country, but they are a top 10 team solid. And we'll see how they finish. And they're a good team. I like what they are. So I guess they probably should start ordering that pizza if they're going to, serve the whole stadium. It's going to take a long time to make pizza. So they probably should put the order in probably next Friday.
Hey, Dr. Rick, are you going to go up and have a slice of pizza with Dabo?
Is it free? Yeah, I'll take it. If it's free for me.
He said he's buying.
That's fine with me. No, Phil, I think they've had a tremendous year. You can't discount what they've done. Now, you can always question their skill and who they've played, but you still got to beat the people that are put in front of you. So I think they've had a tremendous year. I'm kind of like Corey. I'm not sure they're the best team in the country. I mean, they're ranked number one right now, but, there's still some – I just said it on the show this morning that there's still a lot of football left to play, I think. So, I don't know if this thing's really going to sort itself out for the next 2 or 3 weeks. The main thing, you just want to be in the top four. That's the main thing.
Well, Dr. Rick and Carrie, Corey, I'm sorry. I'd like to hear
Wow.
what
You're more than the captain.
I was thinking of the captain. I'm sorry. But I'd like to hear what you guys say about before the season started. I said I thought Clemson was a year away from winning the national championship, and I still feel that's true. Don't you? I mean, anything they do this year, I think, is just bonus.
This is a team full of freshmen and sophomores.
Dr. Rick, what do you think?
Well, I think I like Ron, agree with that because I thought going into the season, I said that Clemson had the talent. I mean, they've got tremendous talent, I think. But I thought their schedule this year actually lined up better for them this year than it does next year because I felt like if they could beat Notre Dame, which they did, and then beat Florida State, which they did, I mean, the rest of that schedule set up perfectly for them. So while I did think the same thing, Ron, I think, they got an opportunity this year. And I said early before the season ever started, I said, if this team gets the right amount of breaks and things fall their way, which things have, then they may have an opportunity to make that Final Four and play in that final grouping. But I just think they're very young. I think they'll be very, very good again next year. As to whether their record's going to be the same at the same time next year, I don't think it will be. I think next year they may have a little bit better team, but I'm not sure they'll be undefeated at this point.
Pastor, is Clemson the new Alabama? Are we seeing the birth of a new
Phil,
Huh?
Phil, stop it. Don't. You're really doing a disservice to Nick Saban and Alabama University even put Clemson in that category right now. No, they're not the new Alabama. You got to win several national championships. I mean, come on. Do this team have talent? Do they have upside? Absolutely. They got a ton of talent. They're a good football team. Hey, I think many people would like to say, hey, if we can win 2 games a year, that we're going to be undefeated because a cupcake ACC. So, you know, but again, we'll see. For them, I think they coast through. I think they go through as number 1 seed in the college football polls because, I mean, Wake Forest is South Carolina, and you beat a North Carolina who South Carolina beat. So you should win that game. I know people are already playing much better now. But still, it should be an easy path. But we'll see if they get to Alabama or Ohio State, teams that got good trench players, strong, fast, physical, can pound the football. Clemson's defense got issues. They got issues stopping the run. And when you take Ezekiel Elliott or Derrick Henry, you catch those guys that can play defense on the other side, we'll see what they're made of. We're not going to know about Clemson until we get to the college football playoff.
I was going to ask you, what is going on with their defense, Pastor? Why are teams having success really gashing them up the middle right now?
Well, you got a bunch of ends that like to get up the field. I mean, you got ends that want to get sacks, and what that do in terms it puts pressure on those inside linebackers like Ben Boulware, who I don't think they're really good football players. They're inside guys, and they're opening up holes and they're getting gashed. You got to make some adjustments, but I'm telling you right now that when they face a team that can pound the football, that's physical, and that can play defense, this team will struggle. I don't know why we want to overlook. They struggled against Syracuse, they struggled against NC State, and when you play quality football teams, those wins, there won't be comeback wins. Those will be L's. You can mark that down.
Rick, being a guy that was an All-American defensive back, played in the NFL, faced a lot of great quarterbacks in college and in the NFL. You see Deshaun Watson on the collegiate level. He's certainly, if things continue to go well for Clemson, he's certainly going to be in the Heisman Trophy talk very strongly. Where do you place him among the quarterbacks you have seen in your day?
I don't know, Phil. That's a tough question. I don't know that he's going to translate into the NFL. He's going to have to turn into similar to like a Russell Wilson type, I think, if he translates in the NFL. I think a kid like Mason Rudolph or someone like that translates better to the NFL because they drop back, they can throw the football and get it downfield. Watson's certainly outstanding college football player, and you can't take anything away from him. I mean, he's obviously very dynamic, and they have been able to have the season they have, I think, mostly because of him. One thing that's really impressed me with what they've done up there with him this year is that basically they've taught him how to protect himself. I mean, there has been times when he's hurt himself in the past because he's tried to gain that extra yardage and all. But I've been very impressed with what they've done in teaching him. Now, I think they've kind of loosened the strings a little bit, and they're going to have to down the stretch with him because in order to gain some more positive yardage, they're going to see better teams down the road. There's no doubt about it. And I do agree with Corey. I think it's going to be difficult, with when Clemson does have to really face a really, really tough defense like an Alabama or somebody very formidable. I think they're going to have some problems. Now, that being said, I will say that I think that a lot of Clemson's success is going to depend on the draw. I mean, Clemson may end up first, and Alabama may end up second. They wouldn't until the title game. You know, it could end up that Clemson could play a Notre Dame again, or a possibility of Oklahoma State, who I think that they can play fine with it, or even Ohio State. I think Clemson's fine against Ohio State. I don't. My biggest question is with Alabama. I kind of agree with Corey, and I think defensively, I think Clemson may struggle a little bit. But that being said, I mean, go back to Tennessee. Tennessee was able to jam the ball at Alabama. So, it's going to be hard to tell. I think it all comes down to individual that day, how your players are playing and what you're looking at. But you really got to be able to put pressure on the corners now in college football. If you don't have a very, very good quarterback, it's tough. I mean, it's very tough. Alabama's got that great big running back, Henry, that can get people on the corners. Clemson, of course, has got Watson, but they got people outside that are great too.
All right, hang on, guys. Going to hit a break, and we'll come back and talk about the Gamecocks and what's ahead for them the next couple of weeks, Citadel and Clemson and coaching search. Back in a moment with our defenders here on Sports Talk.
Guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Wednesday night. Ron Morris in studio, special guests, and on the phone, our defenders, Rick Sanford and the pastor of Payne, Corey Miller. Back to them. We've talked about the Tigers. Let's talk about the Gamecocks. Rick, what is your best hope for the last 2 weeks of the season for the Gamecocks?
Well, maybe mercifully it'll come to an end. Would that be a good hope? I'm not sure.
Have you ever, as a fan, since you've been gone, have you ever endured personally a worse season following USC football?
I don't know, Phil.
0-11 maybe?
I hate to be critical, but I mean, this team just doesn't have the horses. I mean, that's just basically where it's at right now. The magic question that I've had from the get-go since this season kicked off is how can a team go so bad in 2 years? I don't understand it. I understand that the recruiting has been a problem, but why? Why did the recruiting become such a problem? Mm-hmm. I mean, did people just shut it down, or were there just bad decisions made? Nobody seems to be able to answer that question for me. And I don't know how you can go from number 4 in the country to probably the bottom 4 in the country in 2 years.
Shane Beamer left and went to Virginia Tech, and they put a guy in charge of recruiting that on the record said he doesn't like recruiting. I mean, he said he doesn't like making phone calls and doing recruiting, and they put him in charge of recruiting.
Well, but that's the lifeblood of a program, isn't it? I mean, don't you have to recruit kids? And I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I've yet to understand how your program can turn in 2 years that bad.
Well, I've got a little bit of an answer for you. My theory is that at Clemson and South Carolina, one coach went about building a program that could be sustainable for a long time, and it looks like that's what's going to happen at Clemson. Mm-hmm. And the other program was built basically to have a couple nice teams and then go back to the way they were. I mean, it's the difference between a program and a few nice teams.
And they could have had that had they kept recruiting. They just, like Rick said, they fell off a cliff, and some of their best recruiters left the staff in Brad Loyne and Ellis Johnson, and they lost a recruiting coordinator in Shane Beamer and put in Spurrier Jr., who is not a guy that's not a role that he was good at, and they didn't replace him. They didn't bring in guys that could fill in those roles.
I will say this.
You gotta have recruiters on your staff.
I know we want to oversimplify things, but I really do think that 2 or 3 years killed that program, because you had 9 potential game breakers or game changers just walk off and went to other places after that comment.
Pastor, do you agree with Ron that this program is headed back to the bad old days in the immediate future, and it's going to be a while before Gamecock fans can enjoy some success in a big way once again?
No, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think that whoever the new coach comes in, he's going to change things. I think the recruiting is going to be easier when you look at the facilities, when you look at the past success. I think it's easier to sell that this program can be turned around rather quickly. I think they have the foundation to do that. I think they do have some players on this team, but I think it's all about development. They have 4 stars on this team. They have guys that other people in the country wanted. But the problem is, if you don't develop your talent, if you don't get them to that next level, I mean, like the defensive line, if they don't understand and know and learn how to rush the passer and use their hands and have counter moves and become smart football players, you're not going to win games. And I think it's more, you got to recruit. Yeah, you need better players. But the biggest issue for this program right now is the development of the talent. And that's where I see the disconnect. I think you get a Tom Herman in here that can recruit, bring some better players, bring a nice trigger man in the quarterback. They can get back in a year or two where they were, because I think the foundation has been set. But it's all going to be based on hiring the right guy and bringing coaches that can develop talent.
Mm-hmm. And you're feeling Tom Herman still at this point?
I think it's Tom Herman's job if he wants it. I still think Kirby Smart sits at number 2. And again, I know that they have an offensive-minded coach. Steve Spurrier has given his input on coaches, so he's still, he's around and having an impact, and I know that for a fact. But they got to go get a guy that can recruit, that can put together staff like Dabo did. And one great thing that he did was put together a staff that can recruit and can develop their talent. And if you do that, South Carolina will be back in it. I'm not going to say they'll be a juggernaut, but they can be back to the 8 to 10 win type of football team.
All right, real quick, just give me a number. Rick, how many points will Clemson score on the Gamecocks?
Well, that's hard to say, Phil. I probably as many as they want to, but it's terrible to say that. But no, I think it has to be an eye test for Clemson. I think they're going to try to score as many points as they can. I think South Carolina, if South Carolina can keep Clemson in the 28-point range, they can be competitive with.
All right, we got to go. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Be right back. All right, got a couple of quick personnel notes out of Clemson, then we'll get.
Yes, Jake Morgan will start on the offensive line for Gore this week. Joe Gore had a personal crisis he was dealing with and was away from the team this week. Is back, will be available Saturday, but will not start. Defensive back, cornerback Mackenzie Alexander was moving around pretty good, according to Sweeney, as was running back Wayne Gallman, but both are still listed as day-to-day.
Okay, we'll hear from Dabo coming up. We'll also hear from some Gamecocks, too. Recruiting defensive back J.J. Gibbons of Mechanicsville, Virginia. He's a key component to USC's class. He's been committed to the Gamecocks for some time. He remains committed at this point. He is going to Wisconsin this weekend, and he'll be at USC for his official visit for the Clemson weekend. He also plans to take officials to Clemson, Ole Miss, and Arizona State. He said he is still a solid verbal as of right now. He's been impressed with how the Gamecocks have kind of fought and hung in these games, even though they haven't won the last three. He remains in touch with recruiters Sean Elliott, Deke Adams, and Steve Spurrier Jr. He was at Clemson for the Florida State game, very impressed with everything that he saw there, and the Tigers are recruiting him hard as well. Defensive back P.J. Blue of Montgomery, Alabama, is a former USC commitment. He was at Clemson for the Florida State game, and he is coming back to Clemson this weekend for the Wake Forest game. He says he's very interested in Clemson. He loved the atmosphere when he was there. for the Florida State game, and he said the Tigers are still very interested in him as well. He's not been to USC this season. He is staying in touch with the Gamecocks since decommitting, and he has not ruled them out entirely. He's also considering Kentucky, Tennessee, and Louisville. A couple of his younger teammates are coming to Clemson this weekend. Athlete Malik Cunningham in the 2017 class and offensive lineman Tank Jenkins in the 2018 class. Defensive back Miles Dorn of Charlotte has set December 4th for his announcement date. He was at Clemson for Florida State. He's taken officials to North Carolina, West Virginia, and NC State. He's going to Ohio State this weekend. According to Tiger Illustrated, offensive lineman Tremaine Ankrum Jr. of Powder Springs, Georgia, will announce his decision tomorrow at 2:30. He was at Clemson officially for Florida State. He also made an earlier unofficial visit. He also took officials to Nebraska and Colorado. 2017 defensive lineman Eric Crosby of Virginia Beach will be at Clemson Saturday. Yesterday, Clemson offered 2017 offensive lineman Cesar Ruiz, a native of Camden, New Jersey, who attends IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Clemson's in the top 8 with 2017 offensive lineman Isaiah Wilson of Brooklyn, Michigan, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, LSU, and Rutgers on that short list. Defensive back Nick McLeod of South Point was at USC for the Florida game, still being evaluated by the Gamecocks, has not set any official visits, but plans to with NC State, Vanderbilt, and Georgia. The Bulldogs have not yet offered. And in basketball, 6'10" DeJuan Hewell of Miami, he signed today with the Miami Hurricanes over USC and Florida State. Top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Ron Morris in studio with us here for a couple of more minutes. We're going to hear from Dabo Sweeney coming up, also from over at USC. They were talking today as well. After practice, bottom of the hour, we go SC Wild here on Sports Talk. Captain Billy Downer. If we can get him not to talk too much about the Citadel, his alma mater.
He's pumped.
He is. He thinks it's going to be a blowout in favor of the Citadel this coming Saturday. But we'll get him to talk about other things that he knows about, like he's got a duck call with him, so maybe he's going to play his duck call for us tonight. Anyway, Ron's here, and before you leave, what is the latest in your new endeavor with the city of Columbia to get the NCAA regional basketball tournament here in town?
Well, I've been at it about 2.5 months now, and I am convinced more than ever that Columbia will host an NCAA men's basketball tournament in either 2019, 20, or 21. I believe it'll be 2019, just because I think the NCAA will see the situation that Columbia was in, being unable to bid before, and they will give Columbia the first crack at from the state of South Carolina at hosting a tournament. I'm in a fact-finding mission right now, talking to successful bids in other cities over the last 3 years to see how they presented their bid, what they put in it, and then we'll make sure that when the bid process opens, which should be in 2016, that we'll be ready to just send our bid in and say, Columbia's serious about this. We want this tournament, and we'll get it.
Does this have to be done in conjunction with the university?
It does. South Carolina will be the host school, and so they technically have to submit the bid. Now, our idea is to do all the work for them so that all they have to do is press the button and say they're the host school. Now, all the work for USC will come in when they actually host it.
Sure.
But meanwhile, it's up to us to get this bid in proper order. And I'm finding out all kinds of fascinating things about how the bid process works, what the NCAA looks for, what they don't look for. So it's an interesting process. And next year we should know, I'm hoping that they'll name the 24 sites, which is 8 sites for each of 3 years, by November of 2016.
Are you in touch with Ray Tanner at this point, or is it too soon to reach out to them?
Yeah, I had a meeting with Ray Tanner by telephone right off the bat, and he's in complete support of the bid and wanted to make sure that everyone at USC within the athletic department and the university is behind the bid also. And that's important because there are a lot of cities where the host school is not really they don't necessarily want it because it's a whole lot more work for the host school and with little return for the most part.
Keep in mind, the host school will not be in that regional.
They cannot be in that regional, and also the women's team can't host a regional that year. So
Really?
it would cost the USC women possibly a year of hosting the first 2 rounds.
You run that by Dawn?
I have not talked to Dawn about that.
I'll tell her later.
I told Ray about it, and I said I'll let Ray handle that end of it.
All right. Are you staying or going?
I'm taking off.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
it, guys.
Come back and see you soon.
All right, take
You
care.
got it. Ron Morris. right. Thanks to Ron Morris for being with us here tonight in the studio. And again, thanks to our defenders, Corey Miller, Rick Sanford, who are with us in the last half hour. Whether you are a Carolina Gamecock or you bleed Clemson orange, all South Carolina college football fans can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location on USC's campus and the Clemson office coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. All right, coming up in just a moment, some comments from USC offensive line coach Travell Wharton, who met with the media after practice this afternoon. A couple of other things to talk about. South Atlantic Conference released its postseason honors today, and the let's see, who do we have from Newberry?
11 guys.
Yeah, 11 guys from Newberry on the all-conference team. I was looking for individual honors, but nobody from Newberry received any individual honors. On the first team of the all-South Atlantic Conference team from Newberry, running back Romello Doctor, offensive lineman Landon Martin, defensive lineman Steva Squirewell, defensive lineman Jalen Hunter, linebacker Taylor McDonald, punter Kyle Clark, and long snapper Andrew Smith. On the second team, quarterback Raleigh Yeldell, tight end Zach Edmonds, offensive lineman Hayden Wilkes, and defensive back Arnez Gray. So congratulations to those guys. LSU's had a couple of losses here, and now people are suggesting that Les Miles is in some trouble at LSU. In fact, a writer in Baton Rouge, a longtime reporter covering the Tigers football program, he wrote last night that this is as serious as it's been regarding Les Miles since he's been at LSU. There's been some times in the past where there was some grumbling and this, that, and the other, but he said, he writes, 25 years of covering LSU, cultivating a variety of knowledgeable sources have led this writer to believe that there is a serious threat to Miles' tenure here. Then he goes into the history of what happened.
Guys won 80% of his games, 2 SEC championships, a national championship, a national runner-up.
Now get this. If Miles is terminated without cause before January 1st, he would be owed $15 million, payable over 8 years. His assistants would have to be paid roughly an additional $2 million for 6 months' salary for a total buyout of $17 million.
That ain't happening.
$17 million.
But see, Cohen, this is why I tell you, I don't like this kind of writing, because what you're doing is, even though people say, well, no, it can't be doing that. Yeah, you'd be surprised how much people now are recruiting against LSU just on this little bit of information. And I think it's bad because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that can hurt a coach when recruiting. And then you sit there and say, see, I told you he was in trouble. Yeah, and you were part of the cause too.
All right, so just another sign of how crazy the college world can be. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was Mark Ritt everybody was talking about. All he's done is win his last 2 games, put his team in position to win, 9 games in the regular season. But I know to Georgia fans, that ain't good enough because they're not winning their division. They're not winning SEC championships. And I guess, look, I understand when you're at Georgia, there's certain places where you are at. I hate to end a sentence like that, but where the expectation is
out of control.
Well, no. The expectation is win the division at least and get to the SEC championship game, or it's a failure. I would say that would be Alabama, obviously. I'm talking about legitimately being in that position because of your history.
Ohio State.
Well, just in the SEC, I would say Alabama, LSU. I'd throw Georgia in there.
Auburn.
And would you throw Auburn in there?
Yeah.
You would say
Florida. And the thing is,
about half the
only one of those teams can do it. I mean, only 2 teams are going to play for it, so that's just it. So these fan bases every year, there's going to be 4 fan bases that think their coach should be fired because they're not there, and that's ridiculous. That's absolutely fire Mark Rick, fire Les Miles, and then call Phil Fulmer and ask him what's going to happen to you next. I mean, Georgia, I could see it. I mean, they're going to get mediocre in a hurry. They have these pipe dreams at LSU that they're going to get Jimbo Fisher, pay $15 million for Les Miles to go away and then buy out Jimbo Fisher, who makes more at Florida State than Les Miles does at LSU, and bring him in.
Jimbo, if anything, is probably waiting on Alabama.
Jimbo's not going anywhere.
No, I'm talking about when Saban retires.
Dabo's going to Alabama.
Is going to go after either
Dabo's
Jimbo
going to Alabama.
or Dabo. They're going to have either Jimbo.
They're going to have a Bo. There's going to be a Bo there.
There's going to be a Bo, a Jimbo, and that's perfect for
you know what I mean, Bo?
Alabama.
But here's the deal: people don't understand that a lot of these coaches are well respected. And even though coaches are mercenaries, if you Jimbo Fisher and you got a nice cozy gig at Florida State and they run off Les Miles, why would I want to go there?
Mm-hmm.
You had a class guy in there. What are you doing? So that means that's what you'll do to me if I have one bad season.
All right, the Gamecocks have finished up their practice for today, and they have met with the media. Here is offensive line coach Travell Wharton talking with the media, and he was talking about one of the members of his offensive line and how he has progressed. It might be, I haven't heard it, but since Blake Camper is starting for the first time at right tackle, my guess is this is who he's talking about. Here's Travell Wharton talking about, we think, Camper, his offensive line, and getting ready for the Citadel.
He's playing hard. He's playing hard. He's been out here working. I told the guys early on, you never know when your time comes, so be prepared, and I think he's going to be ready to play.
What do you think of the way Zach played over at left guard when you guys moved over to Matulas?
I thought he was ready to play. He's physical. The main thing, tell him to keep being physical. Don't think about it. Just go out there and have fun. And I think he's done a great job this week of preparing as if that situation come about again, that he'll be ready for it. So I thought, getting thrown in there, he did his job.
Can you just talk about his intangibles and the future he has and what you've seen from such a young player like him?
I mean, he's big and strong. Some of the things you can't teach, he's already have it. His size, he can move people around. The main thing is understanding what we're trying to do, playing fast, and I thought he played fast for the most part.
Perry Orth.
Not as much as we wanted to, but we got 2 more chances to turn it around.
When you decided you wanted to walk on an SEC program, I mean, was your goal to I just want to play? Was it I want to start? Was it I want to be the guy?
I wanted to prove to myself that I was good enough to play here at this level. Maybe not, I guess, at South Carolina, but at this level. And I, came in, worked as hard as I possibly could to give myself a shot, and then, left it up to God to figure out the rest. And I'm very, very blessed to be in this position.
The feedback, also you played against the home state school last week. What's the feedback you got from friends and family?
It was just fun. I mean, everybody back home watched it. It's a tough ticket to give to a bunch of friends because it's at home and it's a big game, but everybody back home watched it, and they're so happy for me. And they really actually were rooting for us to win, even some Florida fans that I know. But it was pretty cool, growing up, watching them play every week. It was pretty incredible.
Do you feel like you've proved yourself that you can play at this level?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I do. I've had some, mistakes this year, but overall I feel like I played pretty well. I'm not very experienced coming into the year and played in some hostile environments against some pretty darn good defenses and teams. And, a few plays here and there and we could have a different record. But, I believe that I have.
Are you a guy who plays with a chip on his shoulder, like because people have underestimated you for so long?
No, honestly. I just go out and try to play football. That's pretty much it. That's all I've ever thought of, just like in high school. Just go out there and try to win, prepare as best as I can to help our team win. Been it.
All right, Travell Wharton followed up by a little Perry Orth there from the USC practice. So the offensive folks coming out and talking. And Perry Orth, feels very fortunate to be in the position that he is. Nobody could have expected this, I don't think, going into the season, that South Carolina would end up in the situation it is at quarterback. I still believe, looking ahead to Clemson, that they've got to get Lorenzo Nunez involved in some form or fashion and get an option game going. If you look at the teams that have had a little bit of success against Clemson recently, they've had a problem with that. Back in a moment. All right, USC women, Clemson women playing tonight up at Derby Gym at Clemson. It's 20-9 USC. 8 seconds to go in the first quarter. And USC being led in scoring by Tiffany Mitchell. She has 8 points at this point in the game. USC is shooting 30%. Clemson shooting 36%. But USC is getting many more shots. They've taken 20 to the Clemson women's 11. Let's see why is that? Because Clemson's turned it over 8 times in the first
going
quarter.
to be ugly.
All right, let's do the high school football report for tonight. Brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. New auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau. You could be saving a whole lot of money even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Let's talk about the 4A playoff bracket. The 4A teams getting into the playoffs beginning this Friday night. Here's what it looks like in Division I. You'll have Somerville at Dutch Fork, Dorman at West Ashley, White Knoll at Sumter, and Gaffney at Burns. You'll also have Spring Valley at Fort Dorchester, Boiling Springs at Ashley Ridge, Carolina Forest at Goose Creek, and Malden at Hillcrest. That's 4A Division I. In 4A Division II, first-round pairings will be South Florence at Spartanburg, T.L. Hanna at Irmo, Fort Mill at Lexington, North Augusta at Blythewood, Lawrence at Northwestern, Westwood at Conway, Cane Bay at West Side, and Nation Ford at York. While we're talking high schools, today they released the high school basketball preseason polls and top players in the state. The Elite 5 for boys and girls. On the boys' side, Jordan Bruner, Spring Valley, Jalik Felton of Mullins, Jordan Davis of Dutch Fork, Brevin Galloway of Seneca, and A.J. Oliver of Daniel. On the girls' side, Shayla Bennett of Christchurch, Justice G. of Timmonsville, Kiana Jeter of Spartanburg, Jalea Dunlop of Dreer, and Cameron Roach of Lower Richland. 4A preseason boys, Blythewood number 1, followed by Burns. 3A boys, Seneca number 1, followed by Darlington. 2A boys, Keenan number 1, followed by Ridgeland Hardyville. And 1A boys, Burke number 1, followed by Christchurch. And, of course, you want to know where Latta is in the preseason. That would be number 8. On the girls' side, preseason 4A, number 1 is Spring Valley, followed by Goose Creek. In 3A, Lancaster with Dreer number 2. In 2A, Bishop England number 1 with Dillon number 2. And in 1A, it's Christchurch number 1 with the mighty Vikingettes of Latta at number 2. We've got the complete polls on our website, sportstalksc.com. You can check it out there to get the complete top 10 in each category. Wofford is playing at North Carolina as we speak, and you know what? Terriers are hanging in. 7:40 to go in the first half. North Carolina is up by 10, 28-18. SC Wild coming up next, starring Captain Billy Downer of Citadel fame. Back in a moment.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, we welcome in Captain Billy Downer from South Carolina DNR and also from the Citadel. Yeah, you're feeling pretty spicy, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Give me a prediction on the game.
We are 6-1 in the Southern Conference, doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Tough loss this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, 1990.
Mm-hmm.
Watched the win.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for another victory.
Did you ever consider playing football for the Citadel?
Absolutely not. I know people that are listening right now that know me would be laughing their head off right now. But I did have good friends of mine.
At the question or the answer?
At the question and the answer, probably waiting to see what I would say. No.
Yeah.
No, Robbie Briggs, good friends, good classmates of mine. Robbie Briggs, Shane Stevens, shout out to them. They played on that team.
Yeah.
Everett Sands, of course.
So what do you think as that game was playing out?
It was true.
Well, first of all, were you sober for most of the game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Watching the game. Sure I was. It was a great game. I mean, it was a good game. It was one of those unbelievable things, but different day. We outweighed Carolina. Carolina got so bad at that point as far as down recruiting. The Citadel actually outweighed him on the line.
1990, that would have been Sparky's second season.
That's
he came
correct.
in 89, right after Joe Morrison.
Coaching staff was Charlie Chaff, very familiar with Sparky Woods from App State, no doubt.
Yeah.
It was the right time.
Yeah.
Now this weekend, different story. Carolina's the SEC team, no doubt about it. They've had a tough year, but they're still an SEC squad. They've still got great backup players. Compared to going to get, but I think Citadel's got a good shot this weekend because they are playing well. He is doing a tremendous job there.
Piece of the Southern Conference. Somebody on our Twitter feed put the Citadel on upset alert this week, though.
He'll be with us tomorrow night to talk about the game, Coach Mike Houston.
He's tremendous. I've heard him report earlier this year. He just didn't think the Citadel will be where it was this year. He's expecting next year, but they're so far ahead this year of where he expected them to be. Tremendous year. Beat Wofford and Furman the same year. That's always great for the Citadel Bulldogs.
All right, let's get to the great outdoors, SC Wild, and where are we in? Oh yeah,
nice corn.
So that wasn't
okay. What did you have for lunch, corn?
What was that?
I asked you if you were blowing that. You said it was recorded.
He ate some Mexican food earlier today. I was wondering how that was going to turn out for him.
Where are we in hunting season?
We are looking at waterfowl season. Duck season comes in this weekend. Big opener, November 21st. That's going to be a big day for a lot of folks. South Carolina has been a traditional duck hunting area for many years. We have thousands of wintering waterfowl here. Of course, birds. Again, I got to remember corn. I got to teach you this. The birds fly south for the winter.
That's what I hear.
They winter here. So ducks come from the prairie pothole regions of Canada up in the upper parts of the Midwest, move down the different flyways. And the Atlantic flyway ducks end up here in South Carolina. Many coastal areas. We have a lot of estuary areas there, rich in food. It's where ducks have come for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So it's been a good thing here. It's been South Carolinians have hunted on our plantation areas for years. Archibald Rutledge, the poet laureate of South Carolina, wrote great waterfowling stories in his plantation days in the early 1900s. So rich tradition here, all the way from the coast, all the way through our inland areas. So we have a rich tradition of waterfowling. All
right, our phone number, if you have a question for Captain Downer, 800-956-7266. If you want to reach out to him, also email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Again, the number 800-956-7266. If you have a question about duck hunting season is upon us. And of course, we still have a little bit more time here in the deer hunting season.
Absolutely. Deer season goes all the way through January 1st. We've still got some time there.
Okay, very good. But back to duck hunting.
Absolutely.
What are some of the keys that people need to know as they prepare for the opening of the season?
One of my favorite things to hunt, my children have grown up, my family, we enjoy duck hunting. It's one of those things you either love it or you don't. It's cold, it's wet a lot of times, it's windy, but that's what we like to do. So if you don't like the water and you don't like cold weather, you're probably not going to like duck hunting. Duck season, first season comes in here. Traditionally, Thanksgiving week, we have a Thanksgiving season. That first week of duck season opens up November 21st and ends November 28th. And then our second season will start December the 12th and run through the last Sunday in January 31st this year.
How do you prepare yourself for duck season? What kind of things do you get ready?
That's one of the things. One of the things to note, when people talk about duck hunting, what do you need to know? Well, things to remember, hunting license. Got a hunting license. But for duck hunting, a couple extra things. Not only you have to have a state hunting license, you have to have a migratory bird permit, which is free. It's a HIP permit, Harvest Information Program. You answer questions from last year. How many migratory birds did you take last year? Then you have to have a migratory waterfowl permit, or what we used to call a state duck stamp. Then you have to have a federal duck stamp. And then if you're going to hunt one of our public areas, our waterfowl management areas, WMAs, you have to have a wildlife management area permit. So by the time you add those up real quick, state hunting license $12, the state duck stamp $5.50, federal duck stamp's now $25, went up $10 this year, and then a waterfowl area permit for $30.50, you'd be up there to $73.
Yeah, why so many permits? Why so many different permits?
Waterfowl traditionally, again, they are a migratory bird, so they're covered by federal law. They're protected by federal law as they go through the different states. The federal season is set for the different flyways. We're in the Atlantic Flyway. When they have the meeting, they set the season. South Carolina puts in for the season. The season we have this year is very broad, gives us a lot of time. Again, November 21st to November 28th, and then December 12th through January 31st. So a lot of time there, a lot of opportunity. We're proud to have that here in South Carolina. We have a lot of, again, good areas to hunt. A lot of folks get out there. And, in recent years, duck dynasty is a big word. Everybody sees that. Everybody wants to grow a beard, go out there, the camouflage, and be Uncle Si. And it really, truly has increased interest in waterfowl hunting tremendously on the water. When you go out there, you see all these guys with their beards, and they want to wear all the camo. And, Drake waterfowl's been popular.
Corn's going to grow out a beard here.
Absolutely.
Pretty soon.
Yeah. I need to be hiding.
That would be
interesting. Has nothing to do with
He's never
duck
shaved a day in his life.
But the big thing with waterfowl hunting it does cost a little more. The upfront cost of the permits, the duck stamp, the state duck stamp, or what we now call the migratory waterfowl permit, state waterfowl permit, and your federal duck stamp. You got $30.50 in just that.
Yeah.
Then you got a license, and then
is it just for 1 year?
That's for 1 year. That's right. It's good for this season only, and then past that, your stamps are good for 1 year. But your cost past that, waterfowl, you have a shotgun. So you're looking at $400 to up to $1,500 for a nice Benelli. One of the nice brand name shotguns you see everybody out there shooting, the Vinci. You've got you can get a Mossberg pump or an old Remington 870 pump, and it's still going to cost you around $350, $400 for the shotgun. Box of shells, minimum now on a box of steel shot or non-toxic shot, you're looking at $12, $14, up to $20, $25 for just a box of shells, 25 shells. Then you've got John boat motor. To get out in the water, access out there, you're looking at $8,500 to $20,000, depending on if you get one of those boats that goes in the mud, the mow motors and all those things. Get them at $20,000, and then you got decoys, $50 to $200 a dozen, depending on what style you pick.
Duck calls,
absolutely.
But at least those things you only have to get them once.
Well, duck calls are kind of like a lot of other things. You pick your favorites and you pick another favorite. It just keeps on going.
But a John boat, you're not going to be
I've
buying
got
that
probably
every year.
20 duck calls that I've bought over the years. You just keep buying. You find that one, you like that next one. There's a new sound. You hear that one, I really like that one too.
And the fees, if you go play around the golf somewhere.
What? No doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's as expensive as you make it to anything you do.
Right.
Sure it is.
Give me a little more of the duck call.
Duck call.
Yeah, give me a little more.
In the sport world there, we have what they call, they have duck calling contests.
Right.
Here in South Carolina.
Have you ever competed?
I have.
Is that engraved? Is that an engraved?
Yes, it's engraved. This is a good friend of mine, actually, a Citadel grad, Mark.
I know what he gets you for the holidays now.
There you go. Duck call. This is
everything.
Duck calls come in a variety of styles. This is an Arkansas style as far as the way it looks, the barrel.
Why is it called the Arkansas style?
It's just the fluted style, the barrel, and the insert. Then you've got your you've got wooden calls. You've got what they call plastic calls. You got this is an acrylic call.
Okay.
So and varying price.
I've been to the
wooden calls anywhere $40-$60 maybe. You get up to plastic calls, you can get down the $20 range. But an acrylic call like this, you're looking at $125. Very good, pure sound.
You prefer the acrylic over the wood?
For open water, the acrylic is great, loud, sharp. We'll talk about that in a little bit coming up, but we'll give a blow on that thing.
Give it a quick blow.
Oh, yeah.
Something that's hit the window outside.
There you go.
Yeah, I hope no one are flying by. They might try and sneak in here. All right, we are with Captain Billy Downer, SC Wild. Back in a moment.
Keep up with sports news all day on Twitter at SportsTalk SC. Now back to Sports Talk with Korn, K-Mac, and the Pro.
All right, halftime, North Carolina leading Wofford 34-29. Terriers hanging in. Up at Clemson, USC women 27, Clemson 19, 1:28 to go second quarter. So the Lady Tigers, yeah, we can call them Lady Tigers. That's allowed. The Lady Tigers are hanging in against the Gamecocks. USC doesn't like their women to be called ladies. Clemson allows you to refer to their women's team as the Lady Tigers. Explain the difference to me. I don't know why. That's just the way it is.
Every year, this guy.
Well, I'm just telling you the way it is. USC doesn't want their women called ladies. Clemson doesn't mind you calling their women the ladies. Insects and disease can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests. Favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state, and national parks help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you burn it. For more information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. Captain Billy Downer is with us. And before we do a little bit more, I want to hear a little bit more of your talent.
The duck calling prowess there?
Yeah, give us a little more.
Now all the calls the same as if you're hunting a certain kind of duck.
If you're hunting, basically, it starts off basically like this. And again, I am a poor substitute for many experts that are out there listening tonight, I'm sure.
But talking to the mic and tell us
if somebody can top this, they will call in and do it over the phone.
Basic call that you start with is a quack. We teach young people when you're teaching about duck calling, you teach them the quack, just basic quack, quack. It's quack. You do one quack. You learn how to do one quack, then you do two quacks. You learn how to do two quacks. You do three quacks. You get to 5. And once you've got 5 quacks, now you got a series. You can make that into a hail call, which is the greeting call for ducks. And when you start up high and you go down low.
All right, let's hear it.
It's a 5 call.
Let's hear it.
You start high and you go low. Mm-hmm. That's just a basic hail call, greeting call.
And duck hears that and goes,
well, just a basic call. Duck hen is the one making the quack, by the way. Let's clarify that. The drakes don't talk much. The hens are the ones that quack the most. They make the hail call, get the attention.
You said the drakes?
The drakes, the males, the drakes.
Oh.
Hens are the females.
Never knew that.
So you can
Did you know that K-Mac? K-Mac looks at K-Mac acts like he's an outdoors guy. He looks at me like, you didn't know that, Corn?
Come on.
Did you know that, K-Mac?
No.
Okay.
But you got your quack, you got your hail call down, then you've got what's called the feed call, which is basically a duck happy, food in the mouth.
That's a happy.
And it's called a feed call, but typically it's what ducks do in the air. The hen called to the drake, says, hey, I'm over here. Stay with me. Kind of like your wife hen pecking you. Hey, stay with me.
I get it. I get it.
Same thing.
That's an analogy. So
you're doing it down on the water. You use your quacks, your calls, you combine those together. And when it comes to duck calling for the hunting, it's a lot different than for competition. Competition, you're doing a song and a dance based on what the judges want to hear.
Right.
And they go all the way out to Stuttgart, the duck capital of the world in Arkansas, every year for the world championship.
Have you ever gotten that far?
No, sir.
No.
But I have placed 4th in the state. It's been great.
Good for you.
Enjoyed that.
Now, is there a different, is that just overall? Or
now, let me explain. 4th doesn't get a trophy. So, yeah, I missed out.
Hey,
but I've had fun. I have competed in the States, a lot of fun. Meet a lot of good guys.
If you ain't first, you'll last, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But now, are there different categories, or is that 4th overall?
That was overall.
Overall in the States.
That's
pretty
good.
Get cut
out.
Are you still competing? Are you still competing?
Hadn't done it in a couple of years.
Went out on top.
Yeah, went out on top. That's right. But back to waterfowl. So let's talk about a couple of things to remember.
Okay.
We want to let folks know. Remember, we always do it every year. Remind those that duck hunt. Make sure to keep your license with you at all times. So if you get checked by my friends in green, that you've got your license with you. You're required to have that license to show that you've got your stamps and everything with you. Make sure you sign your federal duck stamp. That's required by law. You sign that stamp to show that that's your stamp. You're not trading amongst your friends in the blind. Plug for the shotgun. That's going to throw you off a little bit. But with migratory waterfowl birds, including waterfowl, you're only allowed to have 3 shells in the gun at any time. So you have to have some type of plug or fill in the gun to prevent the gun from holding more than 3 shells.
Okay.
Other thing, use approved non-toxic shells. No lead shot for waterfowl. Shooting over the water, you're using shells that are approved non-toxic, not lead shot. Lead shot in the past, back in the 80s, they proved that waterfowl would ingest that lead and it would cause lead poisoning.
Okay.
Also, ducks that get shot with lead would have infection, things of that nature. So we went with steel shot back in the 80s. It's been much improved over the years now. Steel shot's a lot better than it used to be. Got a lot of other non-toxic opportunities out there to use bismuth or just a combination of tungsten and steel together. So again, proof non-toxic shells. Remember, your legal shooting times are a half hour before official sunrise until sunset.
Okay.
Today's modern world with phones, everybody should know what sunrise and sunset are. It's pretty easy to remember. If not, we've got our handy dandy South Carolina Migratory Game Bird Hunting Guidebook, which is available online at dnr.sc.gov. And inside that book, there is a nice little sunset table to help you out. And the last thing is, we'll talk about a little bit more later after break, is hunting over bait. Don't want to hunt over bait.
What does that mean, hunt over bait?
Well, waterfowl a little different. When you hunt waterfowl in fields, crop fields and things, they can't have been manipulated to where the food has been exposed.
All right, hang on. We'll be right back.
Ray and Crowder are not ready to play, so they're not.
All right, Dabo Swinney coming up in just a moment, but a final thought here from Captain Billy Downer.
Yeah, I always want to remind folks, before you hunt an area, make sure you know the area. It's your responsibility to know where you're hunting. And scout it, make sure it's good. You know, again, we talk about bait for a minute. What is bait? Bait is the direct or indirect placing, exposing, depositing, distributing, or scattering of grain or other foodstuffs that would serve as an attraction or lure to birds. Particularly waterfowl, you cannot throw out corn, for instance, in the water, one of my favorite things, or weed or other foodstuffs in the water to attract them, which would make it like the fish in the barrel type. So we were talking about off air there.
Not very sporting.
It's not sporting. No. So baiting is illegal, and you can hunt over flooded cornfields and things that have not been manipulated. That's completely legal, and it's very popular in our state. We have a lot of flooded areas which provide wintering waterfowl with places to feed, as well as opportunities for hunters to hunt.
They can get all this information on your website?
Absolutely. Go to dnr.sc.gov. Look for the South Carolina Migratory Game Bird Hunting Guidebook icon on the main webpage.
Outstanding.
Gives you all the information for duck season. Again, duck season this year, November 21st to 28th. Our first season coming up this week. And then December 12th through January 31st. 6 duck total this year, not to include more than 4 mallards or 2 hens.
Excellent. Captain, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. I'm sure you'll be at Williams-Brice.
Oh, I'll be somewhere close.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
I'll be looking for you.
Thank you very much. Captain Billy Downer from South Carolina DNR. All right, Dabo Swinney, a little while ago after the Clemson practice, want to get you a couple of minutes of him. He updates the injury situation for the Tigers.
Ray and Crowder are not ready to play, so they're not going to play this week for sure. McKenzie and Gallman are much better, and they're just kind of still day-to-day, kind of a game day deal, but they're much better. Pretty pleased with with where they are right now. Gibson and Kendall Joseph, had a collision yesterday, so they're kind of concussion symptoms, so kind of going through the concussion protocol. So they'll be out this week based on that yesterday. And then the only other thing that I wanted to bring y'all's attention, and it's just amazing because I was just talking about this in the press conference yesterday about, these are real people, and sometimes life happens. And come out of the press conference yesterday, and that's exactly what happened. Got a little life happening. But Joe Gore is fine. He's not in trouble and done anything wrong, but he's got a little personal crisis issue that he's having to deal with right now. And so he missed practice yesterday, and he had to miss practice today. We hope to get him back, and we will get him back probably either tomorrow or Friday sometime. But so he'll be with us, available this weekend. But Fru Morgan's going to start, and so the biggest thing on Joe, again, he's fine. Just keep him in your prayers, because again, life happens, and these are just normal people, and sometimes personal things pop up, and there's more important things than football.
All right, a little bit of Dabo Sweeney from his practice earlier today. You heard him talking about the injury situation up there at Clemson. Obviously, trying to get everybody healthy for South Carolina, and of course,
more so North Carolina.
Well, yeah, that too. But look, Fru Morgan is no slouch over there. He'll step in and do a good job for him at right tackle.
31-20 USC over Clemson women's basketball, tighter than some might have expected at the half.
I would agree. Thank you, K-Mac. Thank you, State Man. Thanks to everyone out there for being with us. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.